Hello, Aries, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Jen with Bohemian Path Tarot, and today we're doing July tarot readings. I've got the Light Seers tarot deck here today, and just a quick reminder, these are general readings for a general audience, so it may resonate really well with you, or there may just be a nugget or two that inspires you. These readings are for Aries sun, moon, or rising. So I invite you to check all of those placements, the readings for all of those placements, to get a fuller picture. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a really good shuffle on the deck. And I like to sort of fast forward through the shuffling part, and I'll meet you on the other side of the shuffle for your reading. See you there. Okay, Aries, let's take a look. Oops. Let's take a look at some of the themes and events and advice for July. Wow, Aries. Okay. So we've got the Ten of Swords as kind of the main energy here. We've got the Eight of Swords, the Five of Swords, and the Three of Cups. So that's a lot of swords. That's a lot of air energy. And these aren't the fun swords. So starting with the Ten of Swords, a lot of times the artwork for the Ten of Swords is not pleasant. It indicates, or the artwork on the Ten of Swords usually features a central character that has been through it. But one thing we always see on the Ten of Swords is a dawn. The Ten of Swords typically indicates a time when you have been through it, like you've been through a really tough cycle. But the dawn augurs a new day. It indicates the tough cycle is over, and although it's not been pleasant, the worst is behind you. And moving forward, there is the promise of lighter, brighter, easier times. Like you can see in the artwork for this, with this card, it's like you can almost feel the breeze, the fresh breeze kind of blowing through all the kind of dusty, musty, crusty, gross, whatever, and blowing in the sort of the wind of change. There's something new on the horizon, and it is much better and much brighter. There is some advice that's coming through in this reading for you, though, in order to bring through that brighter day. Sometimes with these readings, we get kind of this event is happening, or you can look forward to this, or there's a cycle of that, but this one very clearly has advice for you, support for you. And part of that is in this Eight of Swords, and it's suggesting that there has been some time when there was maybe an expectation that you put on yourself that kind of painted you into a corner that you do not need to keep anymore. You are such a go-getter that perhaps you had an expectation that was too, and I'm just saying this with love and support, that was not fair to yourself. It looks like you have perhaps been too hard on yourself, that you have had expectations that were far too rigid, and this Eight of Swords card is asking or suggesting or supporting you in letting go of some expectations that you have been torturing yourself with, quite frankly. I mean, you can kind of see it in the artwork of this card. This is, the central character is doing this to herself. She's looking in the mirror at herself, being sort of bound. In all of the swords cards in this particular deck, they're kind of represented by these birds, right? And the birds are kind of thoughts or ideas that we have, that are, like in this particular deck, swirling around in the various versions, that 1 through 10. Sometimes these birds are kind of doing more damage, swirling around, and being less helpful. And sometimes we're letting them go and letting them free. And you see here in the Ten of Swords, the central character is kind of letting them go to off into the wind. But in the Eight of Swords, she's still, there's a version of her that's still kind of letting them wreak havoc, right? So the advice in this card is there's still some area that you can free yourself from, and it's an expectation that you have had for yourself. Now, sometimes we do that with a career goal, like if we haven't hit a career goal by a certain time. Sometimes it's a relationship goal, or a certain life milestone if we haven't gotten to a certain point, or a certain weight, or some sort of pressure we have or some sort of goal we have for ourselves, or some kind of expectation we have for ourselves. And if we don't live up to this perfect version of ourselves, we just torture ourselves. And there's something here that you can let go, and let, just let the birds carry it away. Let it go to the wind. And there's no doubt that there's, kind of other things that have gone on in the background that have been frustrating, that have been difficult, that have been challenging. But this is one thing, that the one piece of advice here that is still sort of remaining in the background of the challenge that you have yet to release. And July is the perfect month to work on this piece. Now, for different Aries watching this, it's, obviously hitting in different places, right? Like I said, for some of you, it could be a relationship goal that maybe you didn't hit, or maybe a career milestone, or for some of you, it could even be something that maybe a parent put on you, or something you inherited from your family of origin, or from your culture, or from school days, something that you have been carrying around, maybe not even in a totally conscious way, that you can let go of. This is something that some of you might be able to release through therapy, or through, a therapeutic group, maybe even something like AA or something like that. For some of you, it might be something you can work out and express through writing, or some sort of artistic endeavor. You might have that sort of a breakthrough through a creative project. So if you recognize yourself as an artist, there might be a creative project that you're working on that allows you to have that sort of epiphany, that you recognize you have something that you've been torturing yourself with, an expectation, a philosophy, an identity that doesn't truly reflect the essence of you. It's like a mask that you've been wearing that keeps you bound, that or keeps you fake. And it's time. It's time to take off the mask and be real and be vulnerable. Be the authentic you. Okay, moving on to the Five of Swords. Now, this is one of those where it's likely other people are involved, right? So the Five of Swords is kind of like the miscommunication that happens when you assume somebody else said something or meant something, but maybe it's just because you filled in the blanks because they didn't say something. It's like, you know, when you text someone and they just kind of say a few words and you're just kind of left to interpret the text, that can lead to a misunderstanding and a whole idea in your mind of what is going on that isn't really true. You find out later. It's the kind of thing where maybe you have a sort of a verbal agreement that with a friend or a family member that doesn't really cover yourself or doesn't really cover the project or the sort of interpersonal contract, if you will. There's some sort of misinformation that causes a loss or a misunderstanding or a disagreement or some sort of interpersonal chaos, really. And it's the breakdown of communication. It could be deliberate. It could be someone wants you to think something, so they kind of don't tell the whole story and let you think what they want you to think by not telling the whole truth. Or it could be an honest, just miscommunication. So part of this, new day depends on getting really honest with somebody. This could be a friend. This could be a romantic relationship, or maybe a romantic relationship that didn't take off, or it could be the kind of thing where you think you're in a romantic relationship and you find out you're just a side piece or something like that. It could even be like a work thing or a side business you're trying to set up with a friend, but you realize they're not really as into it or working hard or as invested as you are, that sort of a thing. When this card shows up, you really want to ask questions, hold people accountable for really what they meant when they said XYZ, or what that text meant, or where are we going with this? Is this really a thing? Ask the tough questions. Make sure and don't just assume they meant what you hoped they meant. And it can go in the reverse too. Like, don't assume the worst of somebody either. That can get you in trouble too. So the Five of Swords doesn't necessarily mean somebody has lied to you or that you've lost something. It just means there's a miscommunication, a misunderstanding, a missing piece of information that once you get to the bottom of that and sort of fill in that blank and straighten out that miscommunication, that will help, with that sort of dawn piece. Or that's like starting your walk towards the dawn or into the sunlight, if you will, to extend that metaphor. But here's the obvious lovely card. So even if you were feeling worried with these cards, this advice, if you're taking this advice, right? If you're honoring the fact, if you're trusting and believing that the worst is over, and you're believing that the dawn is here for you, and you take steps towards the light by letting go of whatever it is you're torturing yourself with, this mask, this false front, this version of you that is not true, that you're torturing yourself with, this expectation that just can't be and shouldn't be. When you let that go, and when you get to the bottom of that misunderstanding, when you find that piece of missing information, when you straighten that out, there's something to celebrate here. The Three of Cups is the girls' night out. It's the party card. It's absolute celebration. It's feeling good with your friends. It really is having something to celebrate. It usually indicates feeling good, feeling connected with friends. And it's a very positive card. So although you've been through it, if you kind of follow the advice, and this is probably something you already had an instinct about. This is probably something you already had an instinct about. This is something you definitely had an instinct about. And by month's end, as you've worked through all this stuff, there's a reason. You will have a reason to party. And it may be something you already scheduled. You may have already scheduled, like a vacation with your friends, or you may be going to a friend's wedding, or maybe even yours, or something like some sort of vacation or a party, something like that. But it's definitely going to be an awesome time. And especially when you let go of this and you're really in your authentic self over here, it's going to be amazing. And you so deserve this, Aries. So I hope you liked your reading. I hope it gives you inspiration. The worst really is over, and you're building towards a really beautiful summer. And thank you so much for dropping by, Aries. Take good care of yourself. Until next time, bye for now.